to our speaker for today. Joining us from Missouri is Joleen.
Hello, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name is Joleen.
Hi, Joleen.
Hi, Joleen.
I have a sobriety date of June 25th, 1978. And I really appreciate getting a chance to share with you tonight. It's a way of keeping me sober. I appreciate you. You know, I was reminded today of Bill W.'s writing style, how he writes, and how the big book's laid out consequently. And he writes by stating the problem, and then stating the solution, and then stating the program of action that's necessary to implement the solution. And I'm reminded that over and over and over as I read the big book. Once I figured out the key to the big book, oh, here's the key, how you can make sense of the big book and why it's laid out the way it is. So in doctor's opinion, it tells me about my problem, and I have alcoholism. Now, I just look at alcoholism as some disease I contracted somewhere along the way. I will never know whether it was the first beer, the second rum, the third tequila, the last tequila, because I didn't drink that much after I drank it once. That stuff's wild. You know, I'll just never know when that happened. When did my drinker drink? When did my drinker bust, you know? And I'm glad that in my early sobriety, I did not stay on that debating team. I quit the debating society and I accepted that I have a disease. And so the solution, which is laid out in the second, third, and fourth chapters of the big book, was that I needed a spiritual experience. Now, I, like a lot of people, were raised, you know, being taken to church. I'll say it that way. And so I knew there was this God thing in this building on Sundays and Wednesdays. But that's where he was. That's where he started. That's where he ended, was in this building. And if he got really mad, he destroyed cities, you know. So that was about my extent of my spirituality. And I had no clue, actually, what spirituality was. I knew religion and denomination of Christianity, but not spirituality. So it was perplexing as to how I was going to attain this. You know, I was pretty desperate by the time I got here with understanding, or, you know, as I came to AA, I started understanding how powerless and hopeless my situation was, and that I needed some other help other than me. I couldn't do it, and evidently no one around me could help me. And that's another thing I learned, was that no human person can help me. So I was so happy to find out that, or the way I took it was, step 2 for me was something that I could start to just get on the road to learn it along the way. I didn't have to learn it and get a proficient at it or understand it completely. I just started with the minimum of wanting to believe that there was this power greater than me that could solve my problem, that could give me the power to not take that first drink. So in sobriety, that's how I started. Don't take the first drink, I won't get drunk. They said something really profound to me, and I believed them. And son of a gun, if they aren't right, still to this day. Unfortunately, though, alcoholism's not just a physical drinking. It's also a mental and spiritual problem that I have. And so that's where the program of action comes in chapters 5, 6, and 7. And that's where, to even start there, I need to back up a minute, because I cannot skip chapter 4, because that's my most favorite chapter, because it helped me the most to get over my prejudice, my preconceived ideals. It helped me to swallow a little of the pride that I had and begin the journey of having spiritual experiences and ultimately having that spiritual awakening. So, but this program of action that's laid out in those 3 chapters was really something that I haven't been proficient in. I've dabbled in, and I say that because I thank God it's not just something I did once. You know, this inventory process enabled me to clear out some of that wreckage so that I could even be open to having a higher power in my life, so that I could get forgiveness and get rid of that shame and guilt that I had, so I could take one step towards being honest, a little bit more honest about who I am, what makes me up, and to get some kind of hope that things don't have to be like they were. And I can attest that that's one of the big things I love about AA is that ever since I have stopped drinking and attended AA and becoming an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I've not been bored, and I've never run out of new things to do. So, so back to this program of action. You know, it's also by doing that inventory and being willing to be honest enough to tell another individual, and by me verbalizing that to another individual, I'm actually telling God. You know, I can't just sit here and think I tell God or think, oh, he knows what I'm thinking. That is a very definitive action that enables that I'm really going to be honest, and I'm really going to take to be willing to go to any length to get sober, because it's not pleasant to do that at first. I've had other inventories that were quite, boy, did I need them, and boy, was I glad I took them, because they really released me out of the you know, took all the power away from all that crap that I kept having, those, just replaying those resentments. And every time I'd replay it, I'd get being the good guy, and the other person would be getting worse and worse. And it was a never-ending, horrible cycle. And I don't have to live that way today, because I have an answer of how to take care of my problems. But the most, the one that I hear people often talk a lot about this step too, and I don't know if I'm shortchanging it or, hey, I found the answer, but I found the answer for me, that's for sure. That's step 6. To sit there really and reflect on, now that I've done this inventory and I know that I got these faults that are just killing me. And they're killing me because it separates me from others and from my higher power. And I know that now that I know about them, they're there. This is how I act when you know, my defects flare up, and this is how I end up hurting people or treating them like crap, or dominating them, or trying to feel sorry for myself. When I can sit there and honestly think about, well, am I really willing to really let go of that? You know, some of them I said, yep, I really am. I'm sick and tired of being this way. And some of them I could honestly say, I'm not really ready, you know. And nothing happened. Just I knew that it was okay to say I'm not ready, and that to ask for the willingness to be ready. And that was so powerful. But what really got me, it just like every one of these steps have prayers. In fact, step 4 has 6 prayers, so we really need a lot of praying there. But the powerfulness of the 7th step prayer, it struck. This one meeting I went to, instead of ending with the Lord's Prayer, they ended with the 7th or the 3rd step prayer. And most people didn't have those memorized, so they had them laminated on the table, so that, as we would say the prayer, it was there for you if you didn't have it memorized. And I'm sitting there at the meeting listening, and I'm looking down, and all of a sudden, like a bolt of lightning, it hit me. Because it says, you know, my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. And all of a sudden, I wasn't the worst person in the world, and I wasn't the egotistical, I'm better than everybody else, so nobody can touch me. I don't want to look at myself. I was just me. And talk about having freedom from that. That was amazing to me. So the power of that prayer to actually then ask that that higher power remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go from here to do your bidding. That every step, action, that step that I take, I, 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 I don't really get a lot out of it unless I use the prayers, you know. And because what those prayers do is get me out of the way and reinforce that I'm not the answer and I don't have the power to do this to change me. But this higher power that I've discovered in AA does. So that's kind of what came to me to talk about. I'm glad you got the same talk as I gave earlier, because I really had a really good talk I gave myself earlier trying to prepare for this. So, and that sounded like bragging. I don't mean that was bragging. I'm just glad that I got out of the way, and I really feel good about being able to share that with you and share the little insight of me and myself and my sobriety and what I think of Alcoholics Anonymous. As far as the topic, similar to that is basically it's going to be what's your program of action that you're taking today to stay sober. We're all in different times in sobriety, but all of us have some point of action that we're taking to stay sober today. And there was a reading I ran, actually a quote that I hear a lot. In fact, I misquoted it till Saturday. I realized I was misquoting this. This actually comes out of step 7 in the 12 and 12. And the quote usually is, rebellion dogs our every step. The sentence says, rebellion dogs our every step at first. And what this talks about is I'm not going to try to quote it. Let me just read it real quick. A whole lifetime geared to self-centeredness cannot be set in reverse all at once. Rebellion dogs our every step at first. When we have finally admitted without reservation that we are powerless over alcohol, we're apt to breathe a great sigh of relief, saying, well, thank God that's over. I'll never have to go through that again. Then we learn, often to our consternation, that this is only the first milestone on the new road we are walking. Still goaded by sheer necessity, we reluctantly come to grips with those serious character defects that made problem drinkers of us in the first place, flaws which must be dealt with to prevent a retreat into alcoholism once again. And why that's not meaningful to me to find out I misquoted it, and here's what the real sentence says. But what I found by finding out what the real sentence says, I found out there's our hope, you know. I might rebel at first. I did rebel. I rebelled for many years, many things about AA, but I never gave up believing that this is my answer. As an alcoholic, this is my answer, and it has been for many years. And that even though I fought it and I balked and I questioned it and I tried to get around it, I never, it didn't give up on me. I was able to just not drink, try to follow this program of action, and turns out I have this 30-year relationship. I have a nice house, and comfortable living. In fact, I don't even work right now. Finally reached that yay age, you know, which some ways it's good, some ways it's bad. I kind of miss work sometimes, and I kind of don't miss work sometimes. But to have such a purposeful life, to get to meet all different sorts of people, and yet we have such a wonderful connection because we're alcoholics and because we have a common solution. And to get to share that and to hear you share it, I'm looking forward to hearing you share it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jolene.
Thank
so much
you.
for sharing.
Thank you so much, Jolene, for sharing. Now we have a brief announcement about the 7th tradition. The 5th Dimension Young People's Group has expenses such as ASL interpretation, unlimited Zoom access, and other technical costs.